There was a boy named Kunal who lived on the edge of a dusty village. He wasn't loud, he didn't stand out, and he never raised his voice. People often missed him in a crowd, not because he wasn't there, but because he never tried to be noticed. While others played, he worked. While others talked, he listened. He came from little, but he held no resentment. His eyes always looked down, but his dreams quietly looked up. Each morning, before the sun rose, Kunal would clean the school courtyard. No one asked him to. He just did it. He believed the place where knowledge lived should be treated with respect. The students walked past him every day, barely noticing. Some even laughed. The janitor boy, they whispered. But he didn't stop. He didn't complain. His hands worked and his mind waited for something better. One day, the school held a competition, an open quiz. The prize, a full scholarship. The room filled with confident voices, sharp suits, and fast answers. Kunal sat quietly in the back, hesitant. He had no books, no tutor, no encouragement, but he had something else. Nights spent by a dim lantern, reading discarded pages. He raised his hand, and silence followed. The teacher hesitated. Kunal had never raised his hand before. "You want to participate?" he asked. Kunal nodded slowly. The students snickered. "He probably thinks it's about sweeping techniques," someone muttered. But the teacher allowed it. As the questions began, voices filled the hall. Fast answers, loud confidence. Kunal waited. He answered only when he was sure. Slowly, the room grew quiet. The boy they never noticed was now the one everyone listened to. He didn't speak loudly, but every word landed like a stone in still water. With the final round, Kunal stood alone. The others had stumbled. His answers, clear and calm, echoed across the hall. And when the final question came, he closed his eyes for a second before answering. He didn't know it all, but he had learned from listening, from watching, from never being distracted by the noise. Silence filled the room. Then the teacher smiled. "That is correct." A pause, applause, and then something new. Eyes turned toward Kunal, not with mockery, but with respect. The boy who had always looked down was now standing taller, not because he had changed, but because others finally saw what had always been there. After the ceremony, Kunal stepped outside alone. The sunlight felt different on his skin, warmer, not because the air had changed, but because his world had. The principal approached him quietly and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've earned this," he said. "Not just the prize, but our attention." Kunal looked up, unsure how to reply. He wasn't used to being seen. News spread through the village. "The janitor boy won," they said, some in disbelief, others in admiration. For the first time, people didn't call him by his chores. They called him by his name. But Kunal remained the same. The next morning, he still rose early, still swept the courtyard. Not for recognition, but because that's who he was. A few boys came and stood near him. They didn't laugh this time. One of them asked, "Can we help?" Kunal nodded, handing over a broom. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them. Respect not earned by shouting, but by showing up every single day. He didn't crave the spotlight. He just needed space to grow. And now, the very silence that once kept him unseen had become the force that made him unforgettable. Weeks passed, and Kunal began attending the city school on scholarship. Everything was bigger: the buildings, the books, the noise. But inside, he remained steady. While other students tried to impress, Kunal quietly observed. He didn't compete with their voices. He let his actions speak. He arrived early, stayed late, asked when he didn't understand, and listened more than he spoke. One day, during a group project, he noticed a classmate struggling, but too proud to ask for help. Kunal sat beside him, gently explaining without judgment. The boy looked at him with quiet surprise. "You're different," he said. "You don't act like you're better than anyone." Kunal just smiled. "That's because I'm not. I just do my best." Back in the village, people spoke of Kunal often. He had become more than a student. He had become a symbol, a reminder that greatness doesn't always announce itself with noise. Sometimes it's built in the background, through long days, quiet service, and a heart that never stops learning. Still, Kunal missed home, not because of comfort, but because of meaning. There, under the simple sky, he had discovered something no textbook could teach: that the most powerful kind of work is the kind done when no one is watching. One afternoon, as the semester neared its end, the school held an award ceremony. There were prizes for best academic performance, leadership, and innovation. Kunal didn't expect to be called. He had never asked for recognition. But as the final announcement came, the head teacher stepped up and said, "This award goes to someone whose strength lies not in volume, but in values. A student who reminds us that real growth is often invisible until it blooms." And then they called his name. As Kunal walked up to the stage, there was no roar of excitement, no flashy applause, just a stillness, like everyone realized all at once what had always been in front of them. He accepted the award with both hands, bowed slightly, and looked out into the crowd. For a brief moment, his eyes found his father's, sitting quietly in the back row, tears shining but not falling. That was the loudest applause he needed. Later that night, Kunal sat alone by the window, looking at the city lights. He thought about how far he'd come, not because he shouted, not because he chased the spotlight, but because he believed in small steps, taken every day, without needing anyone to clap. Hard work doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, in quiet actions, in unseen effort, in choices no one claps for. Kunal's story is not about winning a prize. It's about winning back his own sense of worth. He didn't need noise to be valuable. He didn't need attention to become important. He simply showed up, day after day, and let his work speak where words weren't needed. He taught us something rare, that strength isn't always in speaking loudly. Sometimes it's in doing what's right, even when no one's looking. The world may not reward you instantly, but the universe never ignores quiet, honest effort. Have you ever worked hard in silence, hoping someone would notice? Or did you keep going anyway, just because it mattered to you? Share your story in the comments. It might be the light someone else needs right now. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who works in silence. And subscribe for more stories like this, crafted not to impress, but to truly connect.